What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. In this video, we're going to be talking about some simple steps on how to master supply and demand. All right, guys. So when you think about supply and demand, I know there's a whole bunch of videos on supply and demand. Everybody's confused. So I'm going to give you guys some simple tips, some simple steps on how you can master supply and demand, how I view supply and demand, and how you should be looking at supply and demand. It's very simple, guys. As I explain it to you guys in this video, you're going to see how simple it is. All right. So if you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can leave the comments down here in the video. If you have a question about my Instagram is down in the description as well. You can go follow me on there. I give out daily tips and stuff like that, as well as analysis sometimes from time to time. All right. If you guys want to join the mentorship group, it's down in the description as well, or the VIP community is down in the description. All right. Without further ado, guys, let's get into it. So, step number one. Momentum. All right. When you're looking at supply and demand, you need to identify the momentum of the market and where the market is heading. Okay. This is how you will know which areas will work and which areas won't work. All right. So momentum, identifying momentum of the market. So in this example right here, we are on EU, right? The momentum of this market is obviously to the downside. So what does that mean? That means that highly likely selling is going to be more, I would say, optimal, and it's going to be more probability in sales than it is going to be in buying, right? So this is a market that you would want to sell. So when you're looking at this market and you see the momentum is shifting to the downside, how do we know momentum is to the downside? Look at these moves lower, right? Look at these impulsive move lower. So when it comes to supply and demand, you want to look for impulsive moves, right? Where is the impulsive move and what caused the impulsive move? What was the area that caused that impulsive move, right? Because if we're talking about smart money concepts and everything like that, I know people don't want to hear smart money and everything like that, but it's true. This is literally how the market moves, right? There has to be big players in this market to be able to move this market at this substantial rate, especially when it comes to like impulsive moves like this, right? When you have impulsive moves like this and you go to the area that caused these moves, you're going to see most of the time when the market gets back to these areas, that's why we call it a supply zone. So this impulsive move right here, this impulsive move lower right here, you can see as soon as the market came into it, we're getting reactions away. Why? Because there was actual sellers in here. And I mean, this is CPI. This is CPI news, which makes it even more important that CPI and news is following the overall momentum of the market, which is already lower. So if the news that is coming out is telling you that momentum is shifting lower, that means in this market, you should be prioritizing supply zones. So you should be looking for these impulsive moves and looking at the origin of the impulsive moves, right? Looking at this origin, this is the origin. So I can say that this is a supply zone right here. So it would be stupid for me to try to sell the market from here, right? Saying, okay, this is supply zone. It caused, we got a BOS right here. So we got a BOS. So this right here should be my next supply zone. I should be selling from here. Why would I not want to be selling from here as my supply zone? Why? Because this area did not cause such a substantial move as this area did, or as this area did. I'm gonna keep going back and showing you guys how it's important to look at what you're look at these impulsive moves. This is the easiest way to identify a supply or demand zone. I'm showing you guys supply zone right now because the market is in a bearish momentum. So here as well, you can see how we have an impulsive move lower. Look what happens when the market gets back into this area. It creates another move lower. Why? Because there were sellers here. Okay, you see the market did not come back to up here. Why? Right? When we talk about order blocks, here we go. This is a great example. When we talk about order blocks, let me go find this, because one thing I want you guys to understand, order blocks is a form of supply and demand, right? I know you guys haven't heard that word in a while. Probably hasn't, because nobody talks about it anymore, right? Because nobody really understood the true nature of what an order block is and how to identify it. Order block is a form of supply and demand. I also teach Wyckoff. Wyckoff is a form of supply and demand. But all of these areas, just because it's an order block doesn't make it special. Just because it's Wyckoff doesn't make it special. There has to be things that this area has to do in order for me to say that, yes, this is a supply or demand zone. So understand that just because it's an order block doesn't automatically make it a supply or demand zone. That gives it potential to be a supply or demand zone, but it still needs some certain characteristics that makes it a valid supply and demand zone. So how do you know it's a valid supply and demand zone, right? I'm giving you guys one key example right here. Impulse, right? Was there an impulsive move that left some key momentum, right? You can see here we have an impulsive move lower that breaks structure. That's a key characteristic that I look for when I'm identifying which areas are my supply or demand zone. So because this area gave me a impulse to the downside, it gave me heavy bearish momentum to the downside, and we were able to create a break of structure, we were able to break this low, that tells me that this is area of interest. I should be looking for something here because we were able to push lower and break this low. Now, on the same thing, I'm trying to find this order block for you guys. Here it is. All right, when we're looking at this order block here, we ask ourselves, why did the market not come into this area? Why didn't we come all the way higher to trade off of this? Well, look at the difference, right? You can see the difference between this push lower and the difference between this push lower is completely different. Yes, we can say that, okay, we have a semi-impulse. We're not looking for a semi-impulse. We're not gonna be subjective. Is it an impulsive move or is it not? Do we have that bearish momentum or not? Here, you can clearly see the difference between this move and this move. One, this is solo. Right, this is solo. There's more price action to this as well. It is a schematic, right? If you trade Wyckoff or you understand just a little bit about Wyckoff, we do have distribution here. All right, so I'm gonna zoom in a little bit more. I'm gonna go back. I'm actually use the replay, and we're gonna zoom in a little bit more. And I'm gonna give you guys all the characteristics, so it's gonna help you guys a lot, right? We have a distribution right here. Right, and also this is news, right? No coincidence. So look, we have a distribution right here. We have a distribution that took out liquidity and the market pushed lower and we broke this low. And we have an impulse lower, we broke the low, we have a distribution. This makes this a highly probable area for the market to come back into and for us to get a reaction and for us the market to go lower, right? Now you ask yourself, why didn't the market come into here? Well, look at the difference. Do you see a distribution here? We don't see a distribution here. Right? This area is more important than this area here. Why? Because this area did not do what this area did. This area gave us a range, which gave us a distribution here, and we have a manipulation before we go lower, and we broke structure. This area did not do all of that. All we did was, we can say that, okay, we took out this high and we pushed lower, but we didn't do anything else, right? We don't have that huge impulse. You can see the market gave a move to the downside, then we kind of slowed down. Then we did our main move right here, which makes this our supply zone. This is our supply zone, not here. So when you ask, which order blocks or which areas is going to work and which areas is not going to work, you need to ask yourself, what did that area actually do? Favorite word that we like to use in the mentorship, or a favorite key of words, is cause and effect. What is the cause and what is the effect, right? So in this case, what was the cause of us breaking this low? Well, this here was the cause of us breaking this low, right? This distribution gave us the impulse to the downside, the momentum to the downside. It left some imbalances. It's news. It has, some bearish market cycle inside of it. We see that we have distribution. We see that it took some time to build orders here before we went lower, right? We see all of these key characteristics that is saying this is where we should be paying attention to. That's what makes this the supply zone. All right, that's what makes something a supply zone. Now, when it comes to order blocks, you have to identify what did that order block do. Just because it's a candle, that doesn't mean anything, right? That doesn't mean anything. I can go to any time frame right now and find the order block, right? I can easily tell you what order block's not going to work and which is going to work just by looking at them. You have to ask yourself, what makes this an order block? Do we see that it rated liquidity? If it rated liquidity, that's a green check, right? Okay, we rated liquidity. Did it create an impulsive move? Okay, that's another green check. Did we create a break of structure? That is very important. The area has to make some type of break of structure. So for example, right here, if I want to make this a demand zone, if I want to call this a demand zone, I can say, okay, we have a liquidity raid. That's good. We have liquidity that's rated. What do we have? We have some impulse to the upside. That is good. What do we not have? We do not have the market showing that it is able to break structure yet. That's the problem with this, right? So this is not a valid demand zone, right? This area here that took out liquidity is not a valid demand zone until we invalidate this area, right? Once we invalidate this area, now I have some characteristics. I can say, okay, we took out liquidity and we invalidate this area. Why is it important that we invalidate this area? Because this area caused the impulse lower, which means this is an important area. So if this here is able to invalidate this, there must be some type of reasoning behind that. There must be buyers within here somewhere if we were able to take this out. You see what I'm saying? You see how you're building a story behind your areas. Build a story behind your areas, right? Basically what you could say is building a story behind this means, okay, sellers was in charge here. Sellers was in charge to the downside. Let me turn down this music just in case it is too loud. So what you can say here is, okay, let's build a story behind this. Let's say, you know, a seller came in, he came in with a lot of money and he said, you know what, I want this market to go lower. Okay, that's cool. You want this market to go lower at this price point. Now, when we get back to this price point, you can see that resistance lower. You can see the market is giving resistance lower because there were actual sellers in here. Doesn't mean this area is going to hold forever, right? Until we have other players in the market, because understand, when in the market you're fighting against each other. If you're selling, somebody else is buying against you. That's how the market is. All right, the market is not fair. That's what makes it fair. Okay, it does not care about who you are, what you do. It does not care, right? The market is not fair to nobody. That's what makes the market fair. That's what makes trading hard, and that's what makes trading such a difficult task, because it is not fair. You can do everything right and you can still lose. You have to understand that, right? But let's look at this, right? So in order for us to say buyers are back interested in the market, we have to take out this area, because this is the most recent area that we've seen impulse to the downside, which means if sellers in control here and we're still getting resistance, we need to invalidate this to say I can accurately buy from here because this area was able to invalidate these sellers, right? That is simply how you should be looking at supply and demand. It is that simple. So the characteristics, the steps that you need to actually validate your areas and looking at your supply and demand zones is you want to ask yourself, did this area cause an impulsive move, right? If you're looking at order block is a form of supply and demand. Sponsor candles, Wyckoff, all of these areas are forms of supply and demand, right? It's like all under one umbrella, okay? So if you're looking for specifically out of order blocks or just areas in general, you want to ask yourself, did this area create an impulsive move? So here's some, you know, steps that I look for when I'm identifying my supply and demand zones. I ask myself, did this area create an impulsive move, right? We created an impulsive move lower. All right. Did we create some change of character, BOS, or anything like that that shows that there's actual sellers here? Yes, we were able to invalidate all of these areas over here and just completely eradicate it, right? And we have an impulsive move lower. We have a lot of imbalance, right? Imbalance is a very key thing that I use as well. Seeing that imbalance is very important because that shows you the momentum of the market. Seeing the market move so fast, it's leaving imbalance in the charts, which means that most likely than not, there was so much pressure to the downside here that the other side of the market, buyers didn't even have a chance to get in, which means that shows how momentum of the sellers are, how strong the momentum. So when you see these impulsive moves, check out which area caused these impulsive moves. And just the impulsive move itself is not enough. We need to see the change of character. We need to see the BOS. We need to see the imbalance, right? You need to see that. And also you need to understand what the nature of the market is. Just because it's an impulsive move lower does not mean we're bearish, right? You can see that I can say, okay, this is a supply zone because also I'm adding more layers to it, as in we are already bearish. So it is smart for me to know that most likely if my winning trades are going to be on sales, because the market is already showing me a bearish characteristic, right? We're already showing bearish momentum. We're just trading lower. So it would be smart for me to look for the supply zones, right? That's how you want to look at this market. Until you see us, until we start invalidating these areas, then I'll start buying. When I see that, I'll start buying higher, right? So those are some simple characteristics and some simple steps that you could take when you're looking at these supply and demand zones, right? I know I talked about supply zones a lot, but it's the same thing for demand zones. It's complete opposite, all right? They're the same thing, all right? So that is simply it for this video, guys. It is that simple. Those characters that I told you, those are some simple things you can use to start picking the right areas and start picking the right supply zones, the right demand zones, right? Look for those characteristics and look for those key things, those cause and effects that I talk to you guys about, and you will start picking the right areas and it'll be much clearer to you. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.